So hi everyone, this is Dr. Anita here. I'm a consultant microbiologist. In this lecture, I'm going to discuss about immunity. We all know that immunity is very important to fight against infections and to lead a healthy life. So coming to the lecture preview. So this topic will cover the definition of immunity and classification of immunity and what are the types of immunity, what is innate immunity, what is acquired immunity, and the classification of acquired immunity, mechanism of innate and acquired immunity, natural and artificial active passive immunity, and primary and secondary immune response and other type of immunity. So all these things will be covered in this session. So coming to the definition. So the immunity derived from a Latin word immunitas, that is freedom from disease. So the immunity is defined as the resistance offered by the host against microorganisms or any foreign substances. So it is broadly classified into two types, that is innate immunity and acquired or adaptive immunity. Innate immunity is a immunity that present right from birth, whereas acquired immunity is acquired during the course of the life. So what is innate immunity? So it's an inborn resistance against infection that an individual possesses right from the birth due to his genetic or constitutional makeup. That is, it is an inherent immunity that we possess right from the birth. So the properties of innate immunity are, it acts in minutes, that is, it is the first line of host defense. Immediately after microbial entry, the innate immunity plays a role. It acts immediately, it acts in minutes. And it doesn't require prior microbial exposure, that is, it is present even before the first entry of microbes. And diversity is limited. Innate immunity is active against only a limited repertoire of antigen, that is, it is active only a limited number of antigens. Non-specific, and it is totally non-specific. It can be directed against any microbial antigens, and it doesn't have a memory component, so no memory at all. So response to a repeat infection will also be similar to the primary response. So response to a repeat infection is identical to the primary response. Even when we encounter the repeat infection with the same pathogen, the response will be identical to the primary response because it doesn't have a memory component, so that there wouldn't be any difference at all. So mechanism of innate immunity. So following the exposure to microorganisms, several mediators of innate immunity are recruited to the site of infection. So the first step would be attachment, that is binding of surface molecules of microbes with that of receptors on the cells of innate immunity. Then the microbial surface molecules, that those are called MAMs, that is microbes associated molecular patterns. These are repeating patterns of conserved molecules common to most microbial surfaces. That includes peptidoglycan, lipopolysaccharide, teichoic acid, etc. Then PRP, that is pattern recognition receptors. This present on surface of host cells, phagocytes, that recognize MAMs. These are encoded by germline genes. So examples of PRP, that is pattern recognition receptors, are toll-like receptors. These are main receptor for inducing innate immunity. Actually, MAMs are present on microbial surfaces, whereas PRP are present on the host cell surfaces. So on entry of microbes, these TLR, that is PRP, pattern recognition receptors, and MAMs binds together and creates signals that leads to the activation of transcription factors that stimulate the expression of genes encoding cytokines and enzymes, which are responsible for antimicrobial activity. So MAMs are nothing but these are specific receptor, highly conserved receptor that are present on most of the microbial surfaces. Whereas TLR is one of the pattern recognition receptor that is present on the host cell surface. So on microbial entry, these MAMs are recognized by the TLR, and the binding of both these leads to signal generation. These signals leads to activation of transcription factors that stimulate the expression of genes coding for cytokines and enzymes, which is responsible for antimicrobial activity, bacterial killing and further lysis. So this is a picture showing the mechanism of action of innate immunity. Here these are PAMP or MAMP. It's nothing but pathogen associated molecular pattern or microbes associated molecular pattern. All these receptors are present on the pathogen surface, and TLR is one of the receptor present on the host cell surface. So on microbial entry, on pathogen entry, these receptors are recognized by TLR like receptors, which are PRP, pattern recognition receptors, and binding of these two leads to signal generation. These signals activate transcription factors, which leads to the stimulation of expression of genes coding for cytokines and enzymes. That results in production of bactericidal, antiviral, antifungal peptides, which is responsible for antimicrobicidal activity. So in this way the innate immunity acts. So coming to the components of innate immunity, there are various mediators of innate immunity, and it acts by various mechanisms. However, all those components are not purely part of innate immunity. There are some components which act as a bridge between innate immunity and acquired immunity. Most important components are like anatomical and physiological barriers. Anatomical barriers are skin and mucosal barrier. So both the skin prevents mechanical entry of microbes by producing sebum, which has antibacterial and microbicidal activity, and it kills the microbes by intraepithelial lymphocytes. Whereas mucosal barriers prevents mechanical entry of microbes, and it produces mucus which entraps microbes, and the cilia that present in respiratory tract propels the microbes outwards. So in this way these act as a mechanical barriers, and it's a main component of innate immunity. Whereas physiological barriers is one of the component of innate immunity, which includes our normal body temperature. This inhibits growth of some microbes, whereas low pH, that acidity, inhibits growth of most of the microbes. And other physiological barriers include secretory products of mucosa like saliva. Saliva contain enzymes which is responsible for microbicidal action, and tears that contains lysozyme, and gastric juice, again the acidity acid secretion kills most of the microbes, and trypsin, bile salts interfere with cell membrane, and fatty acids and spermine and lactoferrin, all these inhibits the microbial growth.